He bought a Ford pickup truck at a government surplus auction for almost nothing. When he opened the camper shell, he found computers, cameras, and surveillance hardware still active, leftover equipment from a covert government operation. He posted a video of what he found, and then the government showed up at his property to take it back. That man is Clinton Chitwood, co-owner of CNC Equipment out of Nashville, Indiana, a business built entirely on purchasing what the U.S. government no longer wants. And by the time you reach the end of this story, you'll understand exactly how a kid from seven-generation Indiana farmland built something the heavy equipment industry never expected to see. Most people who stumble onto the CNC Equipment YouTube channel come for the machines. They stay because of the man behind them. Clinton Chitwood was raised in Monroe County, Indiana, a few miles from where his business sits today. The land his family worked goes back 7 generations. That's not a figure of speech. It means that before Clinton ever turned a wrench, his bloodline had been working that same southern Indiana soil for roughly 200 years. Whatever was built into him about putting your hands on something, fixing it, making it work, that didn't come from a course or a YouTube video. It came from the ground itself. His father worked in the excavating business. Clinton grew up watching heavy machines move earth. He understood what they cost, what they could do, and what they were worth long before he started buying and selling them. That kind of education doesn't show up on a resume. It shows up in the ability to look at a 96,000-pound bulldozer that hasn't run in years and immediately know whether it's worth buying. In 2004, Clinton formally launched CNC Equipment as a construction equipment business. No YouTube channel, no social media presence, no audience of any kind. Just a yard in Indiana, a mechanical background that stretched back through his entire childhood, and the ability to find value in machinery that other buyers overlooked. For 4 years, that's what the business was, a regional construction equipment operation. Useful, functional, but nothing that would make it onto anyone's radar outside a 50-mile radius of Monroe County. What changed everything came in 2008, and the category Clinton added to his inventory that year is the reason this story exists. But here's the part that changes everything about what you just heard. The year 2008 was not a great time to expand a small business. The financial crisis had gutted the construction sector. Equipment prices were falling. Jobs were drying up. Clinton Chitwood added military surplus vehicles to his inventory anyway. That decision looked counterintuitive from the outside. Military surplus is a niche that most equipment dealers don't touch. The vehicles are unusual, the parts are hard to find, the buyers are scattered, and the reconditioning work is labor-intensive and highly specialized. Most dealers took one look at a decommissioned M35A2 military cargo truck and passed. Clinton saw something different. The M35A2 is a 2.5-ton, 6-wheel drive military workhorse. The U.S. military used these trucks for decades. They're mechanically simple by design, built to be repaired in the field by soldiers with limited tools, and they're nearly indestructible if you treat them right. When the military decommissions them, they go to government surplus auctions, and at those auctions they sell for fractions of what they're worth to the right buyer. Clinton was the right buyer. He understood the machines. He understood the modifications that would make them desirable. Air ride suspension, custom seats, front and rear steering, crew cab conversions, shortened bobtail configurations. He could take a truck that cost a few $1,000s at auction and transform it into something a collector or off-road enthusiast would pay $20,000 to $55,000 for. Each unit, built by hand in his own shop, customized military trucks turned out to be exactly what the market wanted. People would pull over and take photographs when Clinton drove one down the road. The inquiries came in from across the country, and eventually from across the world. By the time the YouTube channel became part of the operation, the business model was already working. The channel didn't create the demand. It amplified something that was already real. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around him saw coming. Most coverage of CNC Equipment focuses on the vehicles, the trucks, the excavators, the Humvees, the rare military bulldozers. What almost nobody talks about is what's sitting inside the shop, and what Clinton taught himself to do with it. The CNC Equipment shop runs a CNC machine, a computer numerical control cutter, that can handle steel pieces 5 feet wide and 20 feet long. That's a piece of steel longer than most living rooms. The machine cuts custom components to precise specifications, fabricating parts for vehicles so old or so specialized that no manufacturer still produces them. Clinton is self-taught on the programming and operation of that machine. He didn't take a class. He didn't hire someone who already knew how to do it. He learned it because the business required it, and because learning it himself was the only way to keep the operation in-house. That matters more than it might seem. The entire business philosophy at CNC Equipment is built around doing everything internally. Clinton has been direct about this. The shop doesn't farm out work. It doesn't rely on outside fabricators for custom parts. It doesn't scale up by hiring people to manage work that Clinton and Bridget could manage themselves. That's a deliberate choice and a deliberate constraint. We could make our business bigger, Clinton has said, but we would lose some control. That sentence is the core of what makes CNC Equipment unusual. Most successful small businesses are told to scale, to take on investors, to open second locations, to hire a management layer. Clinton looked at all of that and said no. The shop floor is clean. The inventory is organized. The scrap metal and used motor oil are recycled. The standards are consistent because the people holding those standards never change. The in-house CNC capability is the competitive moat that nobody can easily copy. Competitors can buy surplus military vehicles. They can't easily replicate 20-plus years of accumulated knowledge about how to make parts for machines that haven't been in production for half a century. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. Of everything Clinton Chitwood has ever bought at a government auction, one purchase stands apart from everything else. He bought a Ford pickup truck, standard-looking vehicle, standard government surplus lot, standard auction price. Nothing about the exterior suggested it was anything other than what it appeared to be. Then he opened the camper shell. Inside, he found computers, cameras, surveillance hardware. The truck hadn't been sold clean. It had been sold complete, with the covert monitoring equipment still installed and still present. Whatever federal operation had used that vehicle, the surplus office had processed it without checking whether everything classified had been removed. Clinton documented what he found in a YouTube video. The video showed the technology inside the camper shell in detail, the kind of detail that made it very clear this wasn't standard fleet equipment. The video spread. Then the government came to his property to recover what remained. The exact agency involved, the full nature of the equipment, and the outcome of the government visit have never been publicly detailed. What is known is that the situation resolved, Clinton retained ownership of the truck, and the episode became one of the most memorable moments in CNC Equipment's YouTube history. The government surplus system, which processes thousands of vehicles per year across dozens of agencies, had allowed something to slip through that wasn't supposed to be on the open market. Clinton hadn't done anything wrong. He bought what was listed for sale. He documented what he found. He cooperated when the government arrived. But the video had already been seen, and the story it told, that a man in rural Indiana could walk into a government auction and drive home in what turned out to be a surveillance vehicle, was exactly the kind of story that travels. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. The number that most people don't know about CNC Equipment is this one: 80%. 80% of their customers are outside Indiana. For a business operating out of a yard on State Road 45 in Nashville, Indiana, population under 2,000 people, that figure tells you something significant about what Clinton and Bridget built. The channel averages approximately 1.8 million views per month. Subscribers currently sit above 167,000. The operation runs 2 channels, the main how-to channel and a separate inventory channel dedicated to equipment listings. There's a merchandise line, there's a parts store. The customer network stretches internationally. When you understand what the business actually sells, the global reach makes sense. Military surplus vehicles are not regionally specific products. A collector in Germany who wants a restored M35A2 is going to find CNC Equipment the same way someone in Texas finds them. Through a YouTube video, through a search for military truck parts, through a listing on a machinery platform. Clinton's audience isn't Brown County, Indiana. It's everyone, everywhere who has a passion for heavy equipment and a need for parts or vehicles nobody else can source. The largest single vehicle CNC Equipment has ever sold gives you a sense of the scale of what Clinton works with. A 96,000-pound bulldozer, 30 feet long, more than 12 feet tall, with a blade measuring over 13 feet wide. That machine is larger than most houses. Moving it required logistics that most dealers would refuse to attempt. Clinton sold it, and all of it. The reconditioning, the CNC fabrication, the shipping coordination, the customer communication runs through a family operation in which Bridget holds the business side and Clinton holds the mechanical side. 2 people, 2 sons, 1 operation. The number that came next, nobody who followed this channel expected it, At some point in every successful small business, someone suggests that it's time to grow. Clinton and Bridget Chitwood had that conversation, and then they chose not to. The decision to deliberately cap the size of CNC equipment is one of the most important business decisions they made, and it's one that most commentary on the channel misses entirely. The reasons are specific, not philosophical. When you're reconditioning heavy equipment that ranges from 2,500 pounds to 96,000 pounds, and when you're sourcing parts for vehicles that the manufacturing industry stopped supporting decades ago, quality control isn't something you can delegate easily. Every machine that leaves the CNC yard reflects on the business. Every custom part that fails reflects on Clinton personally. The reputation that brought customers from Germany, from Australia, from around the world was built one machine at a time. It wasn't built by volume. Bridget studied at Purdue University before the two of them built this together. She brought a different kind of structure to a business that could easily have remained informal. The business side, pricing, customer relationships, the administrative work behind a multi-six-figure equipment operation runs through her. Clinton handles what he's always handled, the machines. The blind date that brought them together, arranged by family members, resulted in a working partnership as much as a personal one. The business model reflects both of them. Bridget's philosophy about being a good human, about giving back because the community has been good to them, shows up in the donations to the local fire department and the sheriff's department. It shows up in the annual Touch a Truck event, where local kids climb into the equipment while the community raises money for a school food program that sends backpacks of groceries home with children who might otherwise go hungry over the weekend. That's not a branding move. The Chitwoods were doing it before the channel made them well known. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me, because this next part is why the whole story matters. There is a version of Clinton Chitwood's story that treats government auctions as the central character. The trucks are colorful. The spy truck incident is dramatic. The view counts are impressive, but the actual center of this story is something quieter. Clinton grew up on land his family had farmed and worked for 7 generations. His father ran excavating equipment. His sons grew up in a shop surrounded by machines that most people have never touched in their lives. The channel, the 1.8 million monthly views, the global customer base, the merchandise, the parts store, is built on top of something that started before any of it existed. A man who understood machines because the men before him understood machines. A family that built something because building things was the only model they'd ever been shown. The government auction system is public. Anyone can register. Anyone can bid. The Department of Defense, the GSA, state agencies, municipal fleets, they all cycle surplus inventory through online platforms where the listings are available to every registered bidder in the country. Clinton didn't have access to anything private. He had access to the same auctions anyone else could find. What he had that most people didn't was the ability to look at a decommissioned military cargo truck, rusted, worn, stripped of its markings, sitting in a government lot, and see exactly what it would cost to make it right, and exactly what it would be worth when it was. That gap between what a surplus vehicle costs at auction and what it's worth to the right buyer after reconditioning is where the entire business lives. It isn't a loophole. It isn't a secret. It's knowledge, and the willingness to do the labor that knowledge makes possible. His boys grew up in that shop. The machines they learned on are the same category of machines their grandfather worked around. Whatever comes next for CNC equipment, whatever the channel becomes, however the business evolves, it is carrying something forward that started long before any of it had an audience. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. The hardest thing to replicate about CNC equipment isn't the inventory. It isn't the YouTube channel. It isn't even the CNC machine. You can buy one of those. What you cannot buy is 20+ years of knowing exactly which government auctions to watch, which machines are worth reconditioning, and which ones will eat your time and margin, which modifications the market will pay for, and which ones nobody wants, and how to source parts for a vehicle that hasn't been in production since before most of the channel's subscribers were born. That knowledge is accumulated. It doesn't transfer in a training document. It lives in the hands and the judgment of the person who built it. Clinton has made that process visible on YouTube in a way that serves the audience and, inadvertently, makes the depth of that knowledge obvious. A viewer watching Clinton evaluate a surplus purchase at auction is watching someone make decisions that look simple on screen and take years to be able to make. A viewer watching the CNC machine cut a custom bracket for a 1970s military drivetrain component is watching expertise that most fabricators don't have and most equipment dealers never needed. The channel works because Clinton isn't performing expertise, he has it. The how-to format, the equipment walkarounds, the auction finds, the occasional humor, and the family moments that run through the videos. All of it is built on a foundation of genuine knowledge. Viewers can tell the difference. The comment sections on the videos are full of people who work in heavy equipment, in the military, in fabrication, people who watch Clinton and recognize that what they're seeing is real. That's not something that scales up easily. It's not something a competitor with more money can manufacture overnight. It took a father who ran excavating equipment and land that had been in one family for 2 centuries, and a man who decided that what he knew how to do was worth building something around. The government sold the truck. Clinton kept what mattered. What Clinton Chitwood built out of government surplus auctions in rural Indiana isn't really a story about trucks. It's a story about what happens when someone knows their craft so completely that even the government can't price it correctly. As of 2026, CNC equipment is active and growing. The channel continues uploading, the inventory keeps moving, and the customer inquiries keep coming in from zip codes that have nothing to do with Nashville, Indiana. Clinton is still at the machines. Bridget is still running the business side. The decision to stay family-sized, to keep quality above volume, hasn't changed. The question worth sitting with is this. Clinton Chitwood had every opportunity to scale CNC equipment into something much larger. More staff, more locations, more revenue. He chose not to. Do you think that was the right call? Or did he leave something significant on the table by staying small?